I would like to introduce these concepts to my son, 15 years old. Where do I start? Honestly, this is so hard. I have two sons, almost 12 and 10 years old, so a little bit younger. But I'm thinking about this stuff all the time. How do I help them be critical of their own like masculine programming that they're receiving in this society? How do I help them make the connection to how men treat women? And generally, like, how do I help my boys be safe human beings? And one of the things, especially with my oldest, is that I need to be really careful not to tell them things because, and I'm bad at this. I'm bad at this. Telling them things, they shut down, they get disinterested, they're not thinking critically. I don't even know if they're hearing me. I need to be able to ask questions that get to the root issues. So, questions like, what does it mean to be a man? And how's that different from being a boy? And what have you ever heard anybody use the term be a real man? And what does it mean to be a real man? And why do you think people use that phrase, to be a real man? Or when somebody already is a man, why do you think other people say, like, be a man? What are they implying there? And what happens if you don't live up to that idea of what being a man is? What happens? Who are you then? And then what do men do to try to make sure they're well established in that manhood? How are men performing their gender in order to establish that they are a real man? Do you think that's healthy? Do you think that's dysfunctional? How do you think that's impacting you or your friends? Like, how is that changing your interaction with the world? And as they start to take a more critical look at manhood and masculinity, eventually down the line, you can start asking them questions about, like, okay, now how does that relate to women? And maybe you could, this is probably where I'd fall into the telling element, kind of plant that seed of, like, some men will use women to try to feel more secure in their manhood. How do you think men do that? What does that look like? Does that make sense? Why do you think men interact with women in these certain ways? And you can start introducing ideas or asking questions about the interaction between men and women. But I think it really has to start with, are they able to have a critical view or a critical take on manhood itself before you even start talking about how men treat women?